Right, we might kick it off then if everybody's okay. So to those joining us here, hello and welcome. My name's Craig, and on behalf of Tasmanian Road Runners, thanks for being here and welcome to the information seminar that we're putting on tonight about speed training. As you've seen, Jarrod Shaw is presenting for us tonight, and Jarrod's going to talk about how speed training can help you and how you can incorporate it into your own weekly training regime. Just in brief introduction, Jarrod's been a keen runner for all of his life, and he found success at a young age when he became the national all schools cross-country champion. Now, I know later on he competed in the Comrades Road Race in South Africa, which is a 90-kilometre journey, so we know he can do distance. But tonight we're talking about speed. So in his history, Jarrod has been a Cadbury Marathon winner, 3 times Tasmanian Marathon champion. He runs 5Ks in comfortably sub 15 minutes.
Used to.
10K PB in 31:36, Jarrod. And a pretty impressive marathon of 2:32 and a bunch of seconds. And don't worry, I've done the maths for you. That means an average pace of 3 minutes 37. So tonight we're talking about speed, and I, for one, am very interested to just sit back and listen to what Jarrod's got to say and tell us about speed training. Over to you, Jarrod.
Thanks, Craig. So I'll probably talk for about 30 to 40 minutes and then allow any questions at the end, or if you want to unmute yourself during the presentation and ask questions, you can. Or also there's a function down the bottom, a chat function. So if you've got any questions there, you can stick them in there and I'll answer those at the end as well. So hopefully you can see my screen. And so I think Craig's probably already said most of the things that I was going to say about myself. But that's the first thing we're going to talk about. As you can, oops, I'm trying to get my screen back on the other one. I've got 2 screens going here and the other one's not working too well. It's better. So yes, that's what we're going to talk about. A bit about myself, why I do speed work, types of speed work you can do, and a couple of recommended sessions. And I'll give a bit of a case study of a particular time back 10 years ago, pretty much 10 years ago to the month, of some of the sessions I did that resulted in my PB for the half marathon. And also I'll come up with a bit of the running lingo, because I know some of the people obviously get training programs online and there's a fair bit of lingo in there and some of it's a bit confusing. So talk about that and a few other tips at the end. So as Craig mentioned a fair bit of this stuff, so I started running when I was 11 years old. So because my grandfather was a very good sailor and he bought us a Sabo and he wanted me to sail, and I didn't like sailing because I couldn't swim. So running was on at the same time, so I took up running. And turns out I was okay at it, so I got Albert Johnson to coach me, who was quite a famous coach. And then later on, Kim Gillard wrote some of my training programs for me. So a couple of other things that Craig didn't mention. So I actually held the Gold Coast half marathon record for 25 years for the under 18s. So that's giving away my age a bit, and probably also giving away the fact my legs are stuffed now, and that's probably one of the reasons why. Also won the bronze medal in the Australian Half Marathon Championships back in about 2005. Craig mentioned won the Cadbury Marathon, which won me lots of chocolate, which was the highlight of it. And then some of my PBs there. So probably my best PB was on the track, the 3K 8:23. That was when I was sort of mid-20s. And then later on, I used to do road and track, and then I had a few calf problems, so probably concentrated more on the road once I was through my late 20s, and did everything over the 3 and 5K were sort of early to mid 20s, and then the rest were early to mid 30s. So why do speed work? probably the most logical reason is so you get faster. So if you get your body used to training at a faster pace when you try to race, then it's going to be not such a shock to the body trying to run fast. So if you train faster, you can race faster. And I would also say it's fun. Some people might dispute that. At the time, it might not feel fun, but I think you can really feel yourself getting quicker, getting fitter, and after a good hard speed work session, whether it's reps or whether it's fartlek, you do feel pretty good, gets the endorphins going. Adds a bit of variety to your training program. So if all you do is, just do long, slow distance or medium runs at the same pace, it might get a bit dull, whereas, this will add a bit of variety. And the other key to it is, if you're going to do your speed work, then you can do your longer run slower. And I think science has probably proved that running your long run slow is just as beneficial to you as running them fast. So if you really do your speed work and then do your long run slow, you're getting a nice variety, teaching your body how to run for a long time and also teaching your body how to run fast. So running is simple. So the good thing about running is anyone can do it. But if you run slow all the time, you'll get very good at running slow. And obviously a lot of people quite like just going for a run and I don't care about doing fast times or doing PBs, and that's fine. But if you do speed work, you will get faster. But pretty simply, the running is how fast you do it is just there's two variables. It's how long your stride is and how many strides you can take. So cadence, most people probably have heard of cadence, and it's how many steps you can do in a minute. Which one's more important? They're obviously both very important. Probably the easier one to improve is your cadence, because your stride length's pretty well set by how tall you are and how long your legs are. You're probably not going to be able to increase your stride length. Although doing speed work, you'll naturally probably stride a little bit further, but the benefits of speed work is you'll actually get your cadence up. So you'll see different runners will have different cadences and that go the same speed. It's because their stride length's different. So if you look at someone like Tony McIntyre, I think's on the call, so he's shouldn't single him out, but he's probably not got the longest legs in the world, so his cadence would be quite quick because he does do a run quite quickly. Whereas someone like you'll see Kipchoge, that's probably true, Tony. Your cadence must be fairly good, I would have thought.
Don't know about that, Jarrod.
So someone like Kipchoge, he's got long legs and long cadence, so that's a big cadence. So that's a very good combination for obviously going very, very fast for a very, very long time. So easy to change. Probably your cadence is the thing that you can train for. If you get your legs turning over quicker, that's what your cadence is. So running is simple. So I'd say yes, if you do your speed work, you're going to get faster. So an example there, if you want to break 50 minutes for 10K, if you just go for training at 5 minutes per kilometre all the time, you're not going to get used to running any faster than 5 minutes a kilometre. So when you go into a race and you try to run that for 10 kilometres, the odds are you're going to struggle to do it. Whereas if you do your longer runs slower, maybe 6 minutes a K, but if you can do some speed work at 4 minutes 30 a K, then I'd suggest you're much more likely to be able to run 10K in under 50 minutes, because you'll get into the race and like everyone does, they'll probably go in the first couple of K a bit quicker than they expect to. But if you go and run, even if you go and run 4 minutes 30 for your first kilometre, your body's not going to, your body's going to be used to that from doing the reps, and you'll have a bit of speed there, you'll have a bit of endurance, and hopefully the combination of those two things will help you run faster for longer. So a bit of running lingo before we get into some of the sessions. So a threshold run is something that is in a lot of training programs. Reps, some people call them repeats. I think probably an American thing. Some people just call them reps, which I would do. Repetitions, I think that's probably an Australian thing. A session, so a session can be reps or it can be a threshold run. A fartlek, so I'll go into fartlek in a minute. A tempo run, pretty much the same as a threshold run. And intervals is another, I don't know, maybe a fancy word for reps, repeats, or repetitions. So if you see all those things in training programs, the repeats, reps, repetitions, intervals pretty much mean the same thing. Threshold and tempo pretty much mean the same thing, and fartlek is a little bit different, but related. And then a float is something you do during fartlek. We'll get onto that after as well. And a pace run's the same as tempo and threshold. So you can see there are quite a few different ways to say the same thing. And the only other one I've put up there is negative split, because everyone likes one of those. So that's where you do your second half of the race quicker than your first half. And that's what hopefully your speed training will help you do. So your types of speed work. So all the reps, fartlek, tempo, threshold, they're all variations of speed work. I'd say if you can do one, if you've got time to do one speed session a week, probably recommend reps. I reckon they're the things you get most bang for your buck for. If you can do twice a week, probably add some fartlek in. You wouldn't want to do more than 3 speed sessions per week, because if you do, you're probably just going to get fatigue. You're not going to get great quality from the speed sessions. And also you need endurance as well as speed. Otherwise, well, unless you're a sprinter, but we're here talking about distance running. Not surprisingly, the shorter the goal race, the fewer the reps you'll probably need to do, but the faster you'll try to do the reps, and you'll probably have a longer recovery relative to the reps. One bit of advice for doing reps is if you can do, and probably to do all speed sessions really, if you can find someone that's faster than you to do them with, then that's good, because it sort of drags you through. And if you can't, you can always give someone a head start, which is probably what I used to do with Daniel, or he'd probably suggest that maybe he was more in the category of doing them with someone faster. But actually later on you can see an example of when I did do some reps with Daniel and they were faster, so we'll get to that. So the first session we'll talk about is fartlek. So fartlek simply means Swedish for speed play. So the idea of fartlek, it gets the heart rate up and then down again. And that's the best way to get fit. It's also a very good way for people learning how to run. So for example, a lot of people do fartlek. The telegraph pole is a great one. And you could either run slow between the telegraph poles and then run fast to the next one, or 5 telegraph poles or whatever. Or you can also walk from one then run to the next, and that's a very good way for people to start getting into running when they're not particularly fit. Start with walking, do some running, and then slowly build up to doing jogging and then running, and then faster running, and then longer running. So the fartlek doesn't have to be structured at all. It's really just playing with your speed. So you speed up and you slow down. But being runners, we like a bit of structure, so there are sort of some structured fartlek sessions you can do. So there's endless ways, but one of the most common sessions is the mono fartlek. So I assume everyone's heard of Steve Monaghetti. Before that, I think it used to be called the Pat Lahesi fartlek, because I think he was Mona's coach, but over time it's developed into the mono fartlek. So that's where you do 2 90 seconds hards with a 90-second float in between. So a float it's probably slightly faster than a jog. So if you're doing 3-minute K pace for your hard part, you'd probably be looking at about 3:45 to 4 minutes for your float. So then you're doing 4 60 seconds hard, 60 seconds float, 4 by 30 seconds, 4 by 15, and you also do 15-minute warm up and 15-minute warm down. So it's a pretty fast session. So you're looking at probably 45 minutes all up, but only 30 of sort of 15 of those are hard. But it was certainly a very good way to get fit. The session I probably liked, felt like it was the best, was I'd do a 10-minute warm up and I'd do 1 minute surge, then 1 minute easy, then 2 minutes hard, 1 minute easy. Do that 6 times, and yeah, it'd be 18 minutes of pretty fast running. Total a bit over 40 minutes. Usually do about 11k in that. So the hard stuff was at about 3:15, slow stuff 4 to 4:10. So there's no real rules with fartlek, but the general rule is your probably float shouldn't be any longer than your surge. It's not really going to get as much benefit if if you do 90 seconds hard and then you jog for 5 minutes. It's not nothing wrong with that, but yeah, for the best benefit, you probably want to be looking at the maximum being the same as the hard bit you've done. So I don't know if anyone's got any specific questions on fartlek, whether you can ask them now if you like, or we can move on to more talking about the reps part of it. And if you've got any questions about any of that later, you can ask them as well, or put it in the chat. So repeats, reps, repetitions, interval, sessions. So they're different to fartlek. So the main difference is you stop in between. So you may jog or you float, but if you like that to recover, I always preferred actually walking to. Yeah, I just found that was a better way to get my lactic out of my legs quicker to then be able to do the rep again. And it's over a structured distance rather than a time. Generally, the fartlek, as you saw before, was you're doing 90 seconds or you're doing a minute, whereas generally in reps you're doing a 400-meter rep or a 1 kilometer rep or a 2-minute rep. Sorry, a 2 kilometer rep. So it's over a structured distance. The two main variables for your reps are the distance of the reps and the recovery, and you can tweak both of those for good effect depending on what you're training for. So I've done reps from anywhere between 200 meters, where you might do 20 of those, up to 5 kilometers, where I'll probably do 2. I think some people probably do 3. The most common reps I did, and probably the most common reps most people do, is probably 400 meters or 1 kilometer. So here are some sample ones. So if you're looking for as I said before, the shorter your race, the fewer reps you're going to do, and probably the shorter the reps. If you're looking for a 5k race, you probably want to do some 400-meter reps of that. So you might 1 week do the 6 by 400 meters at about 1500-meter pace, and you'd probably be looking at about 1.5 to 2 minutes recovery. And you'd be doing 4 1k reps, and you want to do those at about 3k pace. And full recovery, so you'd probably be looking at 3 to 4 minutes recovery on those. And for 5k, you probably wouldn't be doing any 2k reps. For a 10k, you'd still do your 400-meter reps. You'd probably step those up to about 10 at about the 3k race pace, and 1.5 minutes recovery on those. And a lot of people would do those 10 by 400-meter reps, and they'd jog 200 meters in between, and they'd then get pretty much a 5k session out of that. Or actually, they'd probably they'd get a 5k session. So then there was another one of Mona's favourite ones. If you're doing 1k reps, you'd probably do 6 of those and try to do them at about 5k pace and have 3 minutes recovery, which should still be enough to get your legs pretty well fully recovered. And you might do a few 2k reps for a 10k. Once again, you have the 3 minutes recovery, do 3 2k reps at probably around 10k race pace. So in those, you're doing obviously 6k, the same as you're doing on the 1k reps. If you're going to step up to a half marathon, you may or may not do 400-meter reps. If you were going to do 400-meter reps, you'd probably do up to 15. I know some people, maybe even Daniel's probably done 20. That's a pretty tough session. With the 1k reps, you probably still do 6, perhaps 8, but 6, but you do them at a quite slightly slower pace, but you do them with a different recovery. So that's what I was talking about. Your two variables are your distance and your recovery. So you're actually better off trying to do them at the same pace with a shorter recovery, rather than necessarily trying to, for a half marathon, you probably don't need to do them ultra quick. You're trying to get speed endurance here. So your best way to get your speed endurance is to actually shorten your recovery rather than increase your speed of them. And your 2K reps, once again, do 3 of those, your half marathon race pace. But yeah, maybe 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes recovery. Really reduce the recovery on those ones because you're not doing as many of them. And once again, you'll probably get some pretty good speed endurance. For a marathon, you probably don't need to do 400 meter reps. You're probably going to rotate between 1K reps, 2K reps, and 3K reps. So you're probably better off getting your sort of speed from a marathon. You're probably better off getting that out of a fartlek session. So yeah, either the mono fartlek or the other one I was talking about before, where you're doing some, for mono you're doing the 15 seconds, or the one I preferred, you're still doing a minute surge, which should be at a pace that's going to be quicker than your marathon pace anyway. So whether you run at 1K reps, this is where you can have some fun. You can sort of do 10 1K reps, but with a minute recovery. So for those, you're going to have to do them a little bit slower. But if you can manage a marathon pace and do 10 of those with a minute recovery, that's going to get you very fit. It'll get you very fit for a lot of things, but yeah, specifically for a marathon, because it probably not just going to build you a lot of speed, but yeah, it'll build you a lot of fitness. And the 2K reps, build those up to 5. So, obviously doing the maths, it's still 10K's worth of reps, and you're still trying to do the marathon pace. So that's why you're having slightly longer recovery, just so you can still do them at the marathon pace, but have enough recovery so you don't have to slow down too much. With the reps generally, the last couple you try to have a bit of a go. Maybe not for the marathon. You're more trying to train yourself to run in that rhythm. But for for a half or a 10, you're doing the last couple of reps at a faster pace. You don't want to take it too easy and then sprint the last one and have a huge variance between them. But it's quite good to do the last few just at a quicker pace, because in the race, hopefully, if you're feeling good, you might be able to do your last kilometre. Yeah, hopefully sprint most of it. So the other thing is you can do is hill reps. So hill reps are very good it will build your speed, but also very good for your form, because to run up a hill you've got to swing your arms pretty well and lift your legs up. So it's probably a pretty good thing for form. And once again, hill reps you can do anywhere between a couple 100 meters and maybe I've probably done hill reps up to maybe 2 kilometers before. So certainly it's worth, if training for point of pinnacle, clearly hill reps will help you, but even training for a marathon, maybe once a month, do some hill reps. The good thing about, especially people listening in Hobart, that if you're doing just normal training runs, you're probably going to get some hills anyway, so then maybe hill reps aren't quite as important. So I generally did my reps on a Tuesday, and then my fartlek on a Thursday. And the good thing about fartlek and reps, you can do them anywhere. The track's the logical place for reps because it's pretty easy to measure how far you've done. But now with Garmin's, I suppose it's pretty easy as well. Do them on the road, do them on a trail, do them on an oval. The thing is just try to do the same distance for each rep, and now with the Garmin you can do that pretty easily, whereas before you'd have to probably remember where you started and finished. And now we quickly talk about just the tempo and threshold runs. So I actually have heard these terms used interchangeably, so I Googled it, and it just said tempo running and threshold training are often used interchangeably and for a good reason. So tempo runs are a type of threshold training called maximal steady state training. So the goal of threshold training is to perform tempo runs slightly below or at the lactate threshold level. So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to run relatively hard for a sustained period of time. Probably more when you're training for a half marathon or a marathon. And often, if you probably wouldn't do these midweek, probably the third speed session you do after a rep session and a fartlek. So you often do those on a Saturday when you're doing it on a Sunday. And some people like to do a bit of a tempo during a long run. So if you're doing a 30K long run, some people like to do 5 or 10K within that quite hard. So sometimes in the middle, sometimes at the end. So you're probably looking at running about 80% effort for about a third to a half of the distance that you're training for. So generally, as I said, if you're training mostly doing it for a half or a full, so you'd be looking at probably between 10k and 16k for a tempo run. So if you're looking at a half marathon, and you'd probably then do a 10k threshold run. If you wanted to do 5 minutes k in the half marathon race, you'd probably look at trying to do about 5 minutes 15 for the 10k. So half the race distance at a slightly slower pace. And if you can manage that, then that's going to stand you in pretty good stead when you get into the race to be able to maintain that sort of pace. And for a marathon, you probably do a 10 mile. It's funnily, we obviously, in metrics here, and we talk about kilometres, but for some reason, when we do a 16k, we always call it a 10 mile. So the other type of a threshold run, and this is one Kim Gillard liked, and I did quite often, was a 10-20 or a 25-35 run. So this could be classed probably as fartlek or a tempo. So there'd be, you do 10 minutes easy, then you do 10 minutes hard, then 10 minutes easy, then 20 minutes hard, then 10 minutes easy. And the pace would probably be the same as you'd be doing for a threshold. Or the other one is probably, it's quite a hard one when you see it. You do 10 minutes easy, then 25 minutes hard, probably 15 minutes easy, then 35 minutes hard. So that's an hour of pretty solid running. So pretty good workout. So they're the different types of speed training. So now what I thought I'd do is a bit of a case study. So this was back 10 years ago. So this was what I did for over about a 5 or 6 week period. So started off 29th of May 2010, went over to Sandown in Melbourne, which was actually, they don't do it unfortunately anymore. It's on the car race track, so pretty flat and dead smooth. So I ran 10k there, 32:21, and the notes there. That's just snipped out my training diary. That's why the notes there saying the place and stuff I got. Next day, flew back to Hobart, did a pipeline run. I remember in the afternoon, 26k. So like a lot of people, long run on a Sunday, easy run Monday, bit of fartlek on the Tuesday. Would normally do it on the Thursday because I'd raced on the Saturday, did it on the Tuesday. Midweek mini long run, 19k. Thursday, I just another easy run in the morning, but then a pool session in the afternoon because I was getting, I was 37 years old by this stage, so doing 2 speed sessions a week was a bit much. So the pool was a great alternative. So I did effectively the same fartlek session I did do outside, did in the pool. The good thing about the pool is obviously there's no impact. You can run as hard as you like, gets the heart rate up quite a lot, and also I think being in the water is probably quite good for the muscles. Friday rest day, so I think another thing very key to have a rest, because if you try to train every day, you're probably increasing your chances of breaking down. Saturday did another long run, did it with Daniel, so 33k for Fern Tree up the pipeline track, which is obviously a favourite for a lot of people in Hobart. So you'll see these through these weeks, and a lot of it's about consistency, getting your long run in and getting some reps. So it's pretty common for most training sessions that you'll see, or training programs you'll see online. Next week, pretty similar. That easy run Monday, reps on Tuesday, so 3x2k at about average about 3:17, so that's at about 10k pace. Midweek mini long run again, so 21k is a fairly long run for a half, but also I was trying to train for a marathon later in the year, so that's why the long runs were probably a bit longer than you would normally do for a half. Exactly the same on the Thursday, rest again on a Friday, long run on a Saturday. So you can see a bit of a boring repetition here, but it is consistency is the key. For some reason I went to Lonnie, did a session up there on the 10:20, so that's probably a bit unusual to do a session the day after a longer run, but managed to not break down, which was good. Easy run Monday, reps again on the Tuesday, mini long run on a Wednesday, exactly the same on a Thursday as every other Thursday, rest, and then easy run on the pipeline. Oh, actually, no, another session on the pipeline on the Saturday, so which will mean Sunday, the long run. Then I did the 1K reps on the Tuesday this time. So you can see rotating through between 1K and 2Ks. Exactly the same, longer run Wednesday, longer run Thursday, reps in the pool Thursday, rest. And then a week before the race, I actually did a time trial on Sandy Bay Road. So that was 8K and 27:51. So you probably look at doing a time trial maybe 2 weeks after the race. This time I did 8 days out. Not sure why, but it seemed to work out okay. So I was happy enough with that. And that one I did actually in my races. Normally you train in you do your reps in slightly heavier shoes, but that was probably hit out before the race just to get absolutely used to it. Then a bit of a taper the week before. So you can see it wasn't a huge taper. Still did 21K on the Sunday. Just did the 4 1K reps on the Tuesday rather than 6. Then only 13K on the Wednesday. Didn't go to the pool on the Thursday. Easy run on the Friday rather than resting because resting on the Saturday. So then on the Sunday, I managed to run 68:56 for a half marathon. So 5 weeks before that, I ran 32:20 for 10K. So that day, similar course, similar conditions. I managed to run the same, pretty much the same for the first 10K, but then the second 10K, 32:50. So before the start of that 5 weeks, I'd done a few reps, but not so much. So I think it just shows that even 4 or 5 weeks of reps can really get you pretty fit pretty quickly. Obviously, you need the base there, but it does show that, yeah, doing reps, you can do them hard. So, and it really helps your race. So that 32:30, I think it's about 3:18 a K for the 21K. And you can see some of my reps are about that pace. So got in the race, sat on about that the whole way. Luckily, you can see there in the background, Lisa Waitman. Her husband was pacing her. So it was about a group of 5 of us ran with her pretty much the whole way. But then you left her with about a K to go. And she ran 69:00. So I'm not sure if he was, she would have liked to probably break through the 69. I reckon that's probably still a PB. So in summary, running's pretty simple. Keep it simple. You can see you don't have to do anything too drastically different each week. It might not as boring as just running the same pace, the same thing, same place every day. Do some reps, whether they're go to the pool, whether they're the same session or slightly different. It's still variety and will still get you fit. If you can find someone quicker than yourself, but don't just do speed work every day, because if you just do speed alone, you'll probably get yourself injured, you get fatigued, and you're not going to have the endurance. So I'd still say your long run's probably the most important part for a distance runner. You probably want to do, if you're training for a 10K, you want to do a 10K long run, but if you're training for a marathon, you probably want to go up to 35K. Recovery days are important, especially when you're getting a bit older. They minimise the risk of the injury. And just a couple of the other things that now I'm old and sort of broken down. Probably pool running is one thing that maybe I should have done more of when I was a bit younger. So rather than doing hard sessions every 2 or 3 times a week, every week, maybe I should have done one of those in the pool, because it is a lot easier. Another thing I've been doing a lot of since I haven't been able to run as much is walking. So I'm walking about 50 to 60K a week. Walking up hills gets the heart rate going. So if I had my time again, I'd probably, on a couple of the days where I wasn't, have a few niggles, just go for a 10K walk rather than try to do a slower run. So that was all I wanted to talk about. So the only other thing was I actually Googled Kipchoge's training when he did his world marathon records. I'll quickly just put that slide up and people can read them. You can see there he's doing a tempo run, he's doing some easy runs, he's doing some fartlek. He's then doing some reps. So he's a lot of easy runs, some fartlek and reps. So I think that was the one of the weeks of his training. So it's even the best do very similar training. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions. I don't know if I can see in the chat. I might be able to see. Oh, there's one in the chat. So the benefits of keeping the reps a similar time or distance. So I tend to refer as more unstructured section where I sprint for more, about 5 lampposts, and then rest a bit. I'd lose motivation when it's too structured. So yeah, I'd say I'd class that more as fartlek, and I definitely think there's a place for that. And the only thing I'd say about reps is if I was going to, I think you can push yourself harder because you're probably a bit more accountable. So if you're running between 5 lampposts, how quick do you know you've done it? Because I can't imagine the 5 lampposts are going to be the same. The next 5 lampposts probably aren't going to be the same, unless you're talking about doing 5 lampposts and stopping and then running the 5 lampposts back again. Then that would be obviously the same distance. So that's the only thing I'd say. If you're doing a 1K rep and you know it's 1 kilometre, you've got to run for 1 kilometre, and you're timing yourself. So I just think you'd probably go quicker. But if it works for you, then yeah, certainly do it. But I'd probably argue that you might be a bit more accountable if your watch is telling you exactly, and you can compare. And maybe the other thing you can compare later on when you're getting fitter, it's quite good to look back at your reps, and you can see how much, hopefully quicker, you've been able to do the same reps or being able to do the same reps with a shorter recovery. So that's maybe the other benefit as well. But certainly do the lampposts and as part of fartlek, because that's a very good way of speed play, obviously, which fartlek is. So I don't know if anyone's got any other questions.
I've got one for you, Jarrod.
Yeah.
You talk about different techniques and you talk about consistency. Do you think it's a good thing to plan by writing yourself a calendar?
Yeah, if you've got a coach, they'll do that for you. But if you haven't got a coach and you have got a specific race in mind, then there's plenty of resources on the web. Most races will have a training program. So I think it is good to have a structured training program. Try to follow it as much as you can. But if you have niggles or something that you need to, or you're feeling tired, then on some days maybe you don't run quite as far or don't run quite as fast. But I think it's certainly good to have a training program as a guide, and then tweak it if needs be. But yeah, certainly I think it's good to have structure. So do you get more out of the speed sessions when you reduce your recovery time? If you're doing it at the same pace, definitely you do. But if you're doing them slower, then perhaps not. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to blow yourself up. So if you're going to do, say, 4 1K reps and you're doing it in 4 minutes, then if you can keep doing it 4 minutes but reduce the recovery from 3 minutes to 2 minutes, then you'll certainly be getting a better benefit from it. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to set yourself up to effectively hit the wall. And if you reduce the recovery by too much, then you might go from 4 minutes, then 4 minutes 30. So then you're probably not going to get the benefit. But yeah, if you can reduce the recovery time, but keep the speed the same. So Helen, I'd say speed work for the older athlete. I'd say probably not 3 times a week. I'd suggest one rep session a week, but probably not as short. So you probably won't want to do anything, probably not less than 400 meters. I didn't really do anything less than 1 kilometer reps, but your fartlek can still probably do 1 minute as part of your fartlek. But unless if you're training for 5 or a 10K race, you probably don't need to do anything less than 1 minute. You're probably going to increase the risk of your injury if the faster you're trying to go. But I'd say if you can do 4 training runs a week, you get yourself pretty fit. So one of those on a Sunday can be a longer run. On a Tuesday, do some reps. Thursday, do some fartlek, and then pick another day to just do an easy run, and maybe a bit of cross training or a bit of walking in there as well to increase the aerobic fitness without putting too much strain on the body. So if that's all the questions, I think we have recorded this, so I'll figure out how to stop the recording, and we'll put this online. But if anyone's got any questions, then they can just contact me through TRR, and I'm happy to answer any other questions. And also, I assume we'll put these slides up somewhere for anyone that wants to go back through them. And if they've got any questions, let me know. I think you're on mute, Craig, if you're trying to talk. Now you're unmuted.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Jarrod, and thanks to everybody for being here. There was a bit of an issue on my laptop about seeing those slides, so we'll make sure that they go up, so people can see them, and we'll announce where they are recorded so people can access them. And as Jarrod said, if anybody has any questions, feel free to either on our Facebook page or on our website, drop us a line and we can get back to you with a specific answer.